I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict. And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October.
With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
Okay, our chief White House correspondent, James Rosen, he's live outside the White House with more on that historic, James, meeting. I heard you talk about it earlier. Never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, what we just witnessed in the Oval Office, Bob and Katrina, nobody has ever witnessed something like this before. No question there have been some heated exchanges that have taken place in the Oval Office over the past couple of centuries and a half, but nothing has ever played out in the Oval Office before the public or before cameras like what we just saw. And it's important to place this in context. What was it that set off Vice President Vance to rebuke President Zelenskyy in the first place? It came when Zelenskyy, who we must note was speaking English, which is not his native language, but nonetheless, who speaks English well enough, Zelenskyy tried to acquaint the president and vice president with the history of over the last 10 years between Russia and Ukraine. His point was, we need American security guarantees, because if we get a ceasefire deal, Putin violated the last ceasefire. And when President Trump tried to say, well, that was under previous presidents, not me, Zelenskyy came back and said, actually, it was in 2019, during the first Trump term, when the formal ceasefire was signed and Putin violated in this way and in that way. And that is where Vice President Vance stepped in, and let's play that clip.
I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring people, you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
Hello.
In response to that rebuking from the Vice President of the United States, President Zelenskyy said, in essence, look, you guys have an ocean between you, a nice ocean. You're not feeling this situation right now, but you will feel it in the future. And it was clear to this reporter that what Zelenskyy was trying to say there was that if you put in place a ceasefire deal that is weak and doesn't really serve to constrain Vladimir Putin and the Russian military, you will feel the effects eventually of him resurrecting this campaign in some form or fashion and perhaps touching up against a NATO ally like Poland. But when he said, you will feel it, that set off President Trump, who then rebuked the Ukrainian president in even stronger terms than the vice president had. Let's play that clip.
Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and not only in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
A complete, unqualified disaster for President Zelenskyy. and I suppose the two world leaders who are angriest at Zelenskyy at this moment are not President Trump and Vice President Vance. Rather, the two leaders in the world who are angriest at President Zelenskyy at this moment are the French President Emmanuel Macron and the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, both of whom came to the White House this week to try and lay the groundwork for a more successful meeting between President Trump and President Zelenskyy. Even President Trump was trying to do that yesterday. We'll recall that when the Trump administration sent the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, over to Ukraine last month to try and get this rare earths minerals deal signed then, he was rejected by President Zelenskyy, and that's when President Trump turned up the volume, describing Zelenskyy publicly as a dictator, suggesting that Ukraine had started the war, that Zelenskyy should face a new election before he can participate in any of these negotiations. And then things seemed, after the visits of Macron and Starmer, to be calming down a little bit. And just yesterday, we heard President Trump asked if he still regards Zelenskyy as a dictator or if he should apologize for calling him that. And the president said that he has a lot of respect for Volodymyr Zelenskyy. He said he thought they would have a good meeting. And indeed, after the Oval Office session and after a working lunch, there was supposed to be a news conference at 2 p.m. in the East Room where they were supposed to sign this rare earths minerals deal. All of that is off now. President Zelenskyy has left the White House grounds. There is no deal signed. There will be no news conference. And President Trump has posted to Truth Social that Zelenskyy disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He said it was valuable for this meeting to happen, and under such fire and pressure, you learn things. And he learned that Zelenskyy is not willing to come to a ceasefire deal with Russia as long as the United States is involved, because, as Mr. Trump put it, he sees that Zelenskyy thinks that as long as the U.S. is involved, he has some sort of leverage over President Putin. And President Trump closed out that Truth Social post by saying that Zelenskyy can come back when he's interested in peace. From President Trump's point of view, an unqualified win. He and the Vice President Vance appeared, as the White House is now portraying this, to stand up for America first, to stand up to an ungrateful ally, and in pursuit of a peace deal so that the killing and the bloodshed in Ukraine can stop. From the perspective of the Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, an unqualified disaster. And probably Zelenskyy is getting an earful now, having received one or two from the President and Vice President of the United States, from his European allies who worked so hard this week with President Trump to try to lay the groundwork for a more successful session that we did not see. Back to you guys.